Are you having trouble dividing fractions, by decimals, or even whole numbers? Well, today I want to show you some easy tips and tricks so that you'll be dividing fractions in no time. My name's Dan, and this is Discover Curiosity, and all this starts right now. Okay, so first thing we need to know is, what is a fraction? Well, a fraction is a numerical quantity that is not a whole number. So example, 1/2 or a decimal of 0.25. All right, first problem we're going to do is a fraction divided by a fraction. So we're going to take 1/2 divided by 1/4. Now, the rule of mathematics when you divide fractions by fractions is you take the second fraction in your equation and you flip it. So that'll leave you with 1/2 4/1. And what you do is you take the division and then you change it to multiplication. That's called magic math. So anything that doesn't make sense on why it does it, then you just call it magic. So what we get here is, now we just multiply across. So 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 4/2 is 2. Now that you know the rule or the theory and what to do with a division problem, let me explain to you why it works. So if we have 1/2 times 1/4 equals some number, let's go ahead and say x. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 1/4. And then what that does, that's supposed to be divided. So what we're going to do is, since we divide each side by 1/4, this 1/4 and this one cancel. So then we have 1/2 equals x, our unknown, times 1/4. And then to get x by itself again, we have to multiply both sides by 4. And the reason we do this is so we cancel this fraction out, because 4/4 is equal to 1. So then we're left with 4 times 1/2 equals x. And if you recall, so 4, if we want to make that in its fraction form, is equal to 4/1. So this becomes 4/1 times 1/2 equals x. And as you can see, this equation is the same as that, and that's how the gist of it works. Another way that you could do it, if you want to skip all the rewriting of the equation, and it does the same thing, is you have your original equation and you just cross multiply. So you start from here, so 1 times 4, and that'll be your top number. And then 2 times 1 will be your bottom number. As you see, gives you the same answer. So that is the gist of how you will divide fractions by fractions. And it'll work for any fraction. Go ahead and give it a try on some and let me know how it goes. Alright, and on the next one, we want to divide a fraction by a whole number. So we're going to have 1/2 divided by 4. And we can go back to our original first problem with fraction by fraction. We know how to do that. So we want to make this into a fraction by fraction form. And we know that any whole number we can write into a fraction form. So we know that here, 4/1 is the same as 4. And then we have or 1/2, divide. And then we can go the two different routes we talked about. We can cross multiply, or we can rewrite it and flip the second fraction and then turn it to multiplication. Either way is going to give you an answer. So we're going to go ahead and do this real quick. So 1 times 1, top number. And then 2 times 4, bottom number. And there you go. All right, and last but not least is going to be fraction by a decimal. So what do? Let's say we have 1/2 divided by 0.25, 0.2. So what do? We could change this. We know 1/2 is 0.5. So we have 0.5 divided by 0.25. Gosh, that doesn't make it any easier. What else can we do? The easiest thing to do is go with the route that we know. From the first one we talked about, fraction divided by fraction, let's get this into that form. So we got a 0.25. So we know that every decimal is able to be displayed as some type of fraction. So what we're going to do is let's take the 0.25. So how can we get that to a fraction? Well, we know that each point, so this decimal is your tenths, and this decimal is your hundredths. So we have 25 hundredths. Yeah, you see where I'm going. Well, there we go. We have a fraction. So 0.25 equals 25 100ths. Or if we simplify that, it is 1/4. Now that we know what our 0.25 is as a fraction, let's rewrite this. So 1/2 divided by 1/4 equals, we've done this before, let's cross multiply, so we have 4 over, cross multiply here, 2 equals 2. And what if we didn't want to simplify? Could we do that? Yeah, we sure could. Let's try it. So we have 1/2 divided by 25 over 100. Cross multiply. So the top of the first one times the bottom of the second gives us our top number of 100. And then our bottom of our first times the top of our second. 2 times 25 is 50. Simplify that, equals 2. Alright, so I hope this helped. There's an easier way that I want to show you that is magic when it comes to multiplying fractions, and it is with calculator. Yep. Just type it in and it gives you an answer. Amazing. Alright. So I hope that was able to help you out. I know sometimes we don't have calculators at our access. Some classes don't allow you to have calculators. So when you get stumped and you're trying to figure out how to do all these fractions, just remember, if you could always get it back to a fraction by a fraction, you'll always be able to figure it out because you know the trick. So if this helped you out, hit that like button, comment down below, let me know what you think. And if you want to see more videos like that, please consider subscribing. And until next time, stay curious.